What's going on, everyone? Hope you're all doing great today. So in this video I want to analyze how Ren, the creator of True IMM Nightmare Disco, managed to put so much music in one single level and even have it change when you come again into one room, and the level has like a lot of interesting contraptions, so I want to break it down with you. So the first thing that is really interesting on the level is the scream that is timed. There you go. So that scream is generated by this burner, and it has a scream sound effect on it, so that every time it puts the flame out, it will do the scream. So it will scream, then the flame will extinguish, then when the flame comes out again, it will do the sound again to make it that creepy atmosphere. Because, well, it's a crazy dude with a knife on the start of the level, you know, because this is a spooky level, you know. Anyway, so the first thing that's really cool is in this room that shifts the music and also uses a lot of cool tricks to save sprites, because sprites, as you all may know, is something that can be quite annoying when making levels because of how low the limits for some of them are, such as the enemy sprite, which is only 100, and usually for big levels, like especially the true IMM levels that pack so much content in them, they need a way to work around those sprite limits, so they can have more sprites to make more content. So one way to do this is by having, for example, a coin drop into a note block. So the coin is from the block sprite limit, which is 1000. So it's way higher than the enemy sprite limit. So you can put enemies inside note blocks, so it doesn't count into the enemy sprite limit. And when you hit a POW, they will fall into the note blocks right here. They fall here, and then they will trigger and release the content of them. So it will basically, you can have more sprites if you use this kind of stuff. So here Ren uses a lot of this to generate like 1,000,000 extra sprites simply from one enemy sprite, which is the POW block. Also, another cool thing to notice here is how the munchers appear when you are playing this level. So when you hit this, I can die here. So when you hit this bow, these munchers appear from nothing, such as the boost, but the munchers are more interesting because when you hit the bow, the coin will bounce the note block, release its content, the muncher will go down, hit this other note block, and then it will go through the note block that was pressed by the coin and go up the semi-solid here. It's quite interesting, and it can be pretty useful, as shown here. So let's go for the next. Oh wait, there is one more thing that's very cool. So how does the music shift when you're playing this part of the level? Let's just play through it and take a look at it first.
Woohoo! Focus, focus. Woohoo! 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 Woohoo!
And suddenly the melody changes. So the way Ren did this is pretty interesting and actually quite easy to do. You just need to set it up right. So there is this note block mask that is quite complicated to set up that makes the looping music, right? So what is generating the music is this shelmet and this other shelmet up here too. It complements the music. So to change the music, when the power block it gets hit, the coins fall, it releases the content of the note blocks, and then a new sprite will come out, and different sprites make different sounds. So when you hit this power block here, it will release these munchers, which will change the tone of the melody. So that just completely changes the atmosphere. Together with all of the boos and the munchers that come out of these note blocks right here and right here, which are used to preserve sprites, as I said before. Alright, moving to the next section. This is maybe my favorite section of all of them. So, as you may be hearing right now, you start with a more spooky melody, and this puzzly kind of section, where you have to lift the spell block to let the potable out and it do its thing. Then here you have to do it on the other side too. So there is a dragon that comes out. It eventually will go in and release a bomb that was in the note block. So then the potable will light the bomb and explode it. Oh, I despawned it. So, now we are suddenly locked here, and then most people you get confused on why you are here and you can't just hit the checkpoints. The interesting thing now is that when we enter back the pipe, well, we can't do it with the boots. So suddenly the music changed to a more action-packed one, and suddenly there is a Bowser Jr. fight going on. So how does Ren do this? It's a pretty cool and actually simple way to do it. So note blocks, unless they have a vine in it, will only release their content once. So for the first part of the music, the stars and the 1-up release the shelmets. So again, that's using sprites to save sprites. Basically, you are using power-up sprites, which are generally not very used, to make enemy sprites, making the power-ups bounce on the note blocks with the things, just like on the section before. So the note blocks will only release their content once. Now on the second time you enter the section, these bombs that were here and have blown up this and these breakable blocks will let this Goomba and this Hammer Bro spawn, because they're spawn blocked. They can't spawn because there's a block on the same tile as them. So when you blow this block up, the second time you load the room, they will be able to spawn because there is no block anymore blocking them from spawning. And now the helmets that were used for the first melody won't appear because the note blocks can only release their content once, unless they are with vines, of course. But they aren't, they are with helmets. But so you can change the melody from this spooky melody from the puzzle part of this to a completely different action-packed music using the same note blocks, and this is a recurring theme in the level. You use the same note blocks for different melodies, which is really cool. And the same trick is used for the Bowser Jr. Bowser Jr. is spawn blocked by this block. When you complete the puzzling section, you enter the pipe, you reload the room. Now that there isn't a block in front of Bowser Jr., he can spawn, so you can fight the boss this time, get the clown car and escape by the real route, which is this pipe. So, in this section, Ren used right at the start a really simple and really useful trick to save Sprite. So she basically trapped Mary in between these two ice blocks and tracks, which count as enemies. So he is using two enemy sprites and is forcing Mario to hit all of these note blocks, releasing dry bones that will later used to bounce on here while surviving and listening to dope music. So now using only two enemy sprites, you are forced to hit more than 10 note blocks, release dry bones from it and save a lot of sprites, so you can have more content on the level. The other cool thing she does in this section right here is this one-up. So the one-up will basically do its thing. It will slowly come down here, and the longer you survive, the more the music changes on this. So when the one-up gets close this note blocks, it will release their content. So here it releases the fire flower, then it will go and release another one to add more sprites to the music and make the music more interesting, and then it will go back. Wait, I removed this block so it didn't work. But then it will come here and release the content of this block, making the music more and more cool over time. So this wraps it up for this episode. I hope you liked this analysis. Hope it wasn't shit, because it's like the first analysis I make with voice especially, so I'm kinda new to this, so excuse my poor English, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time.